Monster Hunter World, a game where you explore a beautiful island filled with friendly critters. And you have to hunt these majestic beasts to make armor and weapons out of them to hunt bigger monsters. But can you beat this game without using any of the skills which can increase your health, damage output, defense and overall usefulness? My name is Argrector and let's jump into it. We started in a big old ship where I got introduced to other characters, and when they asked me for my name, I spent little time creating my character, which I gave the basic leather armor. This will be the only kind of defensive clothing I'm allowed to wear, since this doesn't give me any skills whatsoever. I also created my Palico, a small little helpful furball, which I named Kiki. The others kinda just talked about the Elder Crossing and was certain that we will unfold its mysteries. And it all went really well until I was reminded that I need a partner. So out of all people here, I had to talk to her. This woman here is either loved or hated. Anyway, a giant volcano just bursted out of the ocean and picked up the ship we were on, and Kiki fell to her doom, so I followed her of course, but ended up on the aforementioned volcano. The handler end screen annoyed me with controls and facts I already knew, so I kept on climbing this moving volcano, which turned out to be a giant monster. After gazing upon the new world, our winged drake crash landed into the woods, where we found a camp and the handler told me things I already knew, so I tried to move on, until we got ambushed by a pack of Jagras, small lizard-like fanged wyverns, but we got rid of them by hiding. Kept on moving forward until it happened. She got herself in trouble. This right here is the start of it all. Anyway, this Chad with a big old bone sword showed up and told us to follow him. But this vulture Rexy here had to show up and stay in my way, so I slow-mo jumped to safety. The field team leader here showed us the way to Astera, a safe outpost of the Research Commission. There I got to meet the commander. He told us to have a look around Astera. We looked at the workshop and the canteen where Kiki and I reunited. Shortly after, we had to go and talk with the commander again. He and the others gave us a welcome and mentioned that the volcano was indeed a elder dragon known as Zora Magdaros. After this little meeting, I was brought to my headquarters where I could choose my weapon for this run. So I chose the best weapon of them all, the Greatsword. A simple hit and run weapon really, little mobility but high damage. And it was finally time we went to the ancient forest to do our first quest. Here we had to hunt some Jagras simply because their numbers got out of bounds. After some hits and mineral farming, we finished this short quest quickly. After the beginning of any Monster Hunter game, I'd recommend to collect everything you see. After we got back to Astera, I went to the fort and upgraded my greatsword. Also, this buff cat gave me a quest to collect some mushrooms, and that I did, because no matter what, always do what the chef wants from you, in order to get better food, which increases my stamina and HP. I found 2 new camp locations and finished the mission. Right after this one, I started another quest. Someone wanted me to kill some Castodons. These slightly more aggressive herbivores weren't really a match for my sword though, until we found out what got them all riled up. The pack leader of the Jagras, so this will be the first big monster I hunt. Although he is kinda cute, he wasn't a challenge at all. I clawed onto his head and shot him into the wall. He did manage to pin me once, but in return I jumped on his back and readjusted his jawline. But before going back to Astera, we saw a Puki, which was kinda pissed at this boulder.
You think it's from Zora Magdaros?
Nah, it's probably from something else that is large and volcanic. I immediately departed on another quest. They wanted me to head to the new campsite. I knew where I had to go, but before that, this fella asked me to capture a pink Pyrexis. So I tried to do the normal way, but then did it my way. Also, this lovely lady asked me to capture a woodland Pteryx, so I did that as well. And reached the location where a Kuloyaku was messing around. So of course the most logical option was to kill it. And being the thin-boned bird wyvern that he was, with the strength of an infant, he stood no chance against me. This oversized dodo was limping for his dear life in a matter of minutes. At least the northeastern camp was placed. And the commander called me for an assignment. I simply had to kill that Puki we saw earlier. I did start the quest with collecting enough of its tracks to ease tracking it down. And this system is rather neat. If you collect tracks, you increase your research level on that monster, which makes it a lot easier to locate it in future hunts, as well as knowing how close they are to die. Anyway, Puki saw me and yelled at me, so I just showed him this wall. He did manage to mess me up pretty good, so I took his tail from him. him and took him down shortly after. Next up, we headed to the Wildspire Waste to look for more of Zora's tracks. Whilst the others did the work, I catched some endemic alive and collected all the resources in my way. However, Arethian ended up blocking the path, so I had to take care of her. And by that I mean getting hit and poisoned a few times until she pissed off. Finally, at the destined location, we found a piece of seething brimstone. But before they could examine it, Baroth, a brute wyvern, showed up and I had to engage combat with Steam Train on legs. Now, he was indeed a slightly more difficult fight, mainly due to his dense armor and relatively high damage, but after some tail cutting and war banging, he did fall to my feet. One of the Wyverians also showed up and he blabbered about things. Lastly, the chef wanted me to hunt some Garjo for some catfish crackers or something like that. And after that, I smashed some Vespoids for the cat chief as well. It was either for pest control or he serves me some fried flies, I don't know. Also, with all these new minerals that I collected, I was able to upgrade my weapon once more, as well as my armor by using the armor spheres, which you get sometimes from monsters. Shortly after, I accepted the quest Sinister Shadows in the Swamp, where I stumbled upon some spiky tracks, and once I reached the murky water section of the desert, I found the botanical flower guy. And he was losing his mind, like me whenever I had to do a math test in school, but he was scared because of the peskin wyvern Giratotis. Again, fish on legs. Bro, go back to the primal seas where you belong. There's nothing of interest about this fish really, and he ain't even hard to fight after all. Me, greatsword hunter. Me hit, me run, me deal high damage. He did have a turf war with Baroth, which was kinda cool, but it didn't make me like him anymore. And after he escaped to his room, I gave him a lovely wake-up call and finished the quest. The chief botanist I rescued was indeed grateful and he gave me a ghillie mantle. He also wanted me to hunt a Toby Kadachi, the more inferior lightning-themed fanged wyvern in this whole franchise really, and of course he had to be in the tippy-top areas of this map, just to annoy me, and since I don't like him and his subspecies, I won't waste your or my time. Let's just say I bonked him many times until he fell into an eternal slumber. Thanks to this hunt, however, I did unlock the Botanical Research Center, which allows me to plant and harvest certain organic resources. At first, you only have a single slot, so I chose honey, of course. You just have to check on this thing whenever the fertilizer is empty. The canteen also got a lovely update thanks to my deeds, and after eating some better food, I went to the Wildspire again to steal herbivore eggs. The parents weren't the biggest fan of that, and since I'm smooth-brained, I forgot I had the ghillie mantle, which means killing this herd of Apsaros wasn't really necessary. Anyway, next up I had to go to the ancient forest again and hunt the turkey T-Rex Engineath, the fiery brood wyvern who I bonked with some boulders. He didn't like that for some reason. Now Engie here is a wall for some players, meaning he can be rather difficult to fight, and I would agree if I wasn't a veteran hunter who experienced the more fun moments in the old games. Slender aside, I jumped on his back and got rid of his tail, but since I had like no armor, each of his attacks did some big boy damage to me. Luckily Kiki could heal me every now and then. Rexy here did had a nice turf war with a certain red scale flying wyvern, which is a big spoiler for anyone who never played Monster Hunter World, and of course he had to just bother me during this hunt. I decided to annoy him as well for a bit out of spite. We ended up in a different zone, I broke Engineath's legs like he owes me money and he skedaddled away. But I simply ended his bloodline. Astera was preparing for Zora. The commander explained that Zora will show up in the Great Ravine where we want to capture it, and we have to use heavy artillery to slow the beast down. And after some standard preparations, I headed out to start the quest. Within the Great Ravine, we made sure the equipment was ready and in good shape, and whilst waiting for the monster to show its face, the scout flies freaked out as the Scorching Mountain Dragon emerged from the rigid ground. Now, many people dislike Zora Magdaros mainly for the fact that the fight is boring, and that is true because all you do is load up cannons and shoot ballista bolt at this moving mountain, and you don't really use your weapon a lot. I don't really have a problem with that. I really like the scale of this fight and especially the theme. Really just shows how massive some monsters can be in this world. Anyway, once Zora reached the barrier, I binded him using the ballista binders, but this giant broke free and shattered the wooden barrier. No surprise really. And I was told to get on Zora's shell. Once there, I had to destroy these magma cores, and I had to be careful. Hitting it and rolling away, just because the eruptions deal a hell of a lot of damage, I destroyed one and gathered some minerals on the way to the next one, which I also disposed of. Zora didn't like that and stood up, so now I only had to climb all the way up to his head to hit him on his snoot. Again, really love how you can just climb all over this majestic beast. The last magma core has been reached and destroyed as well, and as the team constrained him again, a specific spiky dragon showed his horned face. Nergigante. Nergi was acupunctured by some ballista bolts, and the old huntsman came in to show us you always respect your elders. Nergi had enough and pissed off. Zora, on the other hand, managed to break free and escape into the terrain once more. And they actually did lose this track. No idea how you lose something the size of a skyscraper, but alright. Also time for another upgrade on my greatsword, and time for a simple gather quest, because why not? I spent some time looking for better greatswords to craft, and I was about to make the Jagras one, or even the Gnashing Flammensan, but decided to just stick to the metal greatsword for now, because this makes me feel like I'm Guts. Also, by the way, before anyone asks me why I don't use the defender weapons, these are simply too busted and too strong. It would make this challenge run way too easy for me. Anywho, I did wanted to do the Wyvern Axial quest, but ended the quest in order to place the upper camp in the forest to make said quest easier for me. Back in again, this one is like the herbivore egg quest. However, this time, if I pick up an egg, Erethian will try to get her babies back. To my luck, I managed to barely make it past this narrow entrance and got the egg to the camp box. For the second one, I had an idea, so I got her over here, grabbed an egg, which led to her flying to the nest a long way and allowed me to get to camp once more. And next up, I helped the botanist out with a Erethian problem. She is a very easy fight, easy to read attacks with the firebolts and poisonous tail attacks, which you negate by cutting her tail thorns off. She is a open book really, and I dare to say she's one of the easiest fights in this whole game. And after some more broken parts, true charge slashes, and not letting her leave, she went down. Later on, the handler and I went back to the Great Ravine to investigate. We walked up the slope until we laid our eyes upon the beauty of the Coral Highlands. This majestic biome looks exactly like a coral reef, but on land. However, the handler had to fool around, got us in trouble again, and we pummeled into the depths. This lady here found and rescued us. So we woke up in the research base, which belongs to the leader of the 3rd Fleet. She told me some things I already knew, so I went to the Coral Highlands to explore until I ran into the flashbang bozo Tsitsiyaku. This monster right here, in my opinion at least, is the most useless monster in the whole game. Its fight is boring, it is weak, and its equipment is bad as hell. So I didn't bother fighting it. Instead, I continued to gather things and reach the campsite I had to reach. I was being informed that Zora's tracks had been located in the Rotten Vale, but we needed some materials to get there. For that, however, I actually did hunt the flashlight featherweight to get everything for the West-East camp in the Highlands. Now I need to find something for the research base. Something like a balloon. Well, I guess this could work. Excuse me, could I please borrow that thing on your neck, please? I'll take that as a no. Paulumu here is another one of those boring early game fights. I even put him to sleep with the help of Sleep Toad, which allowed me to get a lovely hit in, and stunned him as well. But later down the line, the flashbang flamingo had intervened and got us both, but nevertheless I managed to kill the flying pillow pretty fast. With the power materials delivered, the 3rd Fleet Master said it was time to head out to the Vale. With the ship in the right place, we lowered ourselves with the anchor and had to get rid of the best of the lizard boys, the Great Gyros. Now the Rotten Vale, as the name suggests, is a massive ravine littered with rotting flesh and broken bones, and the majority of it consists of a skeleton of a gigantic dead elder dragon. So we went out and about to explore this nasty yet cool place, and once we spotted the Great Gyros, I decided to fight him, although I didn't have to. Now, on this guy you could tell the monsters hit a chunk harder, plus their nasty bite can paralyze me as well. But I didn't give him the chance, and after some roughhousing I took the Viper Lizard down. Once back to the base, this old lady gave me access to the Trail Raider Safari. Basically, I can send out some palicos in order to go on some resource runs for me in exchange for research points. Also, the airship engineer sent me out to get some Shamos hide. Back in the Vale, I had to investigate a bit more until I was ambushed by the bony roly-poly Radoban. He is actually a lot of fun to hunt, not gonna lie. Sometimes he rolls and messes up, which, when you hit him during this, allows you to tip him over and harvest some bones off his back. The main problem was his dense bone armor. This gave me a hard time dealing any kind of significant damage to him, but I just said, "F*** it, I'm balling," and there's almost nothing some wall banging, mounting, and tenderizing can't fix. Although he can fix his bony armor, this walking tar pit stood no chance against me. Back in camp, the senior citizen who rescued us earlier exchanged some information with us, and although she lived in the Rotten Vale for 30-something years, she still wanted me to explore. Alright. The next best move would be to get the Radoban sword, since it gives me extra defense, as well as having high base damage and good sharpness, plus no negative affinity. But first I needed to get Barov's greatsword in order to craft Rados. But first back to Astera, which was sizzling with requests from people. And after I managed a Barov investigation, I headed back to the desert to hunt said Steamroller. The best part about the investigation system is that it's quite simple to unlock him. All you gotta do is find tracks or break parts of the monster you want an investigation from. And they also have a higher chance of dropping rare materials materials. I got everything I needed for Barrel's weapon, but now I had to hunt some Radobans to get all the materials for his weapon. And by some Radoban, I mean two. So edit Dark Rector, make a montage please. At last I was finally able to make the spiked blade 1. So my pest control was in order to upgrade the botanic farm though. We wanted to reach the base of the Vale, but couldn't proceed because of the apex of the Highlands, Legiana. So I was sent out to take care of it. I wanted to mess around a bit to easily mount him early on, but that didn't work. I had to use the claw to show him the ground. Funny enough that Legiana is the only monster in base world that can use ice. Bad thing about Ice Blight is that it slows your stamina regen. Of course, the one day I don't have any nullberries. After only some close calls and another flashbang, I dodged most of his attacks, since he doesn't like to land, which is the one thing that I dislike about his fight. So I wrapped it up and ended the hunt. Could capture you, but I don't have a trap with me. So we're gonna do this the fun way. With this birdie out of the way, we were able to get down to the center camp in the Vale, and there I had to look for Zora's tracks. I knew where they were, but I had to get all the stuff for no reason. Once we found a steaming boulder, the handler had the brilliant idea to run off and got attacked by Clifford, the big red dog. So I had to get her out of here, only for her to send me back to deal with the murder puppy. Listen, I'm pretty certain she's fine, but God, you piss me off. Odogaron was one monster I was worried about because of his high speed and aggression. He also gave me my first death in this whole run. From here on, I played more careful and used the toads in this area for my advantage. Surely Odo is very aggressive, very fast and very agile, but in return, he is very fragile. Back at the workshop, I increased the defense of my armor since I desperately needed that, and the Meowscular chef ordered me to get some pieces of rotting flesh out of the Vale. No idea what kind of concoction he is brewing, but it can't be worse than British food. I had to look in the forest for clues of the first Vivarian, and after getting attacked by the King of the Skies, the flagship of all flagships, Rathalos, I did stumble upon the Wyverian, and he will tell me about Zora's current location after I took down Rathalos and the Horned Tyrant. I chose Rathalos first, started the quest with a warbang and the help of this dam. And it's really sad how the main monster of this franchise is kind of a pushover. I do like his fight and his design, don't get me wrong, but Rathalos here was way too easy for me to take down. So right after that, I went to the Wildspire to hunt the apex of this region, the Horned Wyvern Diablos. And this fella, till this day, has one of the best intro cutscenes in this game. Hitting him only at the right time and using the Screamer Pots when he dug underground to ease the hunt, and after chewing through his dense armor, I managed to break off one of his horns. I'd say he's harder than Rathalos, but I also like him a lot more. He hurt his head on this pillar, and then this happened. Damn! The first sleep proc. Right, Diablos. Wake up, my boy. And I managed to capture him at the end of the quest. At the council meeting, the commander informed us that Zora's heading to the Everstream to die. That isn't good. Because of the huge amount of bioenergy this titan has stored in its body. All of that would, simply put, blow up the new world. So we wanted to lead him somewhere else to rest. First though, I started the quest A Hunter's Dream to unlock a certain greatsword. In this quest I had to hunt a Paolumu and a Rathalos at the same time in the arena. Just stay far enough away from the Rathalos when dealing with the Paolumu. I unlocked the Wyvern Ignition but forgot how bad its stats actually were. So instead I proceeded with the colossal task ahead. So remember the first Zora Magdaros hunt I did? Well, this one is almost exactly the same, but you start on a shell to remove the cores, drop stalagmites and whatnot onto him. Nurgi showed up again, so I teach him to not do that anymore. Hell, even Zora was fed up with him. In the final stance, we were at the barricade to once again shoot him with cannons, etc. I did jump on his head to break his final core, and lastly, after more and more cannons, we used the hyper heavy hitter weapon, the Dragonator, to forcefully lead Zora out into the ocean. Here he may rest. After this successful mission, I was told to investigate the desert again and found some unique Rethian footprints as well as a Puki who was acting up. So I put him down. The team was worried about these Rethian footprints and told me to keep an eye out for them. I gathered the coral loon for the chief, then did the A Hunter's Dream quest once again to craft the Wyvern Ignition. I decided to at least give it a try as for now, mainly because I needed a better sword since I'm in high rank. I fought a high rank Radoban and it's clear as day that monsters deal way more damage now. But so do I. Bad part of this weapon is its horrible sharpness, which literally goes down within mere moments. But I still took him down and then had to deal with another troublemaker T-Rex and decided to go back to the Radoban Greatsword and keep on upgrading it. So I had to hunt some more Rados. You know what that means, right? Montage time. Could finally upgrade the Rado sword once more, and since I gathered these mystery Rethian footprints, the research center figured out where the monster was. So I headed out to the Coral Highlands and found the lady we were searching for. Pink Rethian. She is a pretty bad monster, to be honest. There's like no difference between her and the normal one. Ah yes, one of the worst examples of a subspecies. Let's go. She is a bit more armored on the tail, stronger and has one new attack. Legiana did help me out to mess her up a bit, and I took the pink menace down. The entire research team was worried a old world subspecies was sighted in the new world. Even the admiral showed up and said he might knew where she came from. So we made an agreement I would join him on this little exploration. After meeting up with the commander, he walked us through this cave system until we emerged into the Elder's Recess. This area is sizzling with bioenergy and most monsters here are quite tough. So I got the objective to track or spot all of them. First off, we saw the bigger roly-poly cousin of Radoban, Uragan. Next was Dodogama, this little cutie patootie who I don't want to hurt really. Also found some tracks of Nergigante, which was my side objective. And lastly, we found the worst monster in the game, Livisioth. Get the hell out! And in Astera, the Chief Botanist gave me a pretty hard quest. Here I had to hunt a Legiana and Odogaron in the Highlands at the same time. Things you do for a passive farm. Well, since I already fought them both, I won't bore you. These are only the high-rank versions of them, with just more damage and health. I did die twice, but finished the quest regardless. Back in the Vale, I was told to look for some specific tracks, and I found them, but I was mainly looking for footprints of another great beastie. I couldn't find him, so I headed back to the Wildspire. Once there, I found these blue glowing tracks as well, but finally found the footprints I was looking for, as well as seeing his tail. Once I talked to these scholars, they all freaked out because I spotted the tracks of a Devil Joe. I accepted the quest, the Food Chain Dominator, but before heading out I put on some layered armor to, well, look a bit better. And the handler wasn't in the camp, so I knew that meant problems, and I was right. She literally tried to go out and collect many consumable items, but a Abdernoth appeared, then a Jagras, and then the Pickle. The most violent and hungry brood wyvern of them all, Devil Joe. This big fella literally used Jagras here as a mace and killed me with one hit. I managed to get the handler away from him, but he got a bit angry with me. But afterwards I mounted him, and what did he do in response once I stood up? He grabbed Jagras again to clobber me with him. Well, anyway, I died again, and after playing more careful and being more anxious, I actually failed this quest. So I just tried it again. Sure, he hits hard and has lots of health, so I mainly aimed for his chest since it becomes a massive weak spot once he gets angry, as well as mount attacks to get some openings. At one point he was just spamming his damn Dragon Element breath, so I couldn't do much. But this hunt looked a lot better than the previous attempt, but I still managed to die twice, and on my last life I had some very close calls and brief dodges, but once I saw him limping, I waited for him to go to sleep and captured him. And the only reason why I wanted to hunt Devil Joe was because of this greatsword right here. But before hunting more pickles, I hunted another Rado first so I could upgrade to the Radoban Sled 2. Now, before I give you a Devil Joe montage, it is worth mentioning that I gave Kiki better gear to aid me more in these hunts. But now, have another montage, guys.
Yeah, boy.
I could finally make the Berserker Greatsword, and I only needed some more Devil Joe Tall Fangs and Elder Dragon Blood to upgrade the sword even further. So I tried this double Kirin quest. Yep, these are Elder Dragons, and very easy to fight for Greatsword Hunters. But sadly they didn't give me any blood, so after this I wanted to upgrade my armor but needed more spheres, so I did a double Uragan event quest which drops lots of them. But this quest was by far the most chaotic one, when two truck-sized brood wyverns roll around, won't leave each other alone and simply spam whatever these are called. Things definitely got funny, but I still managed to take them both down and upgrade my armor. And it was about time we challenged the spiky boy who started a lot of commotion in the new world. The Eater of Elders, Nergigante. Now he is a rather easy fight, to be honest, for an Elder Dragon that is. Honestly, once his spikes grow longer, that part becomes a massive weak spot. I had to look out though for his quick little bunny hops and had to make sure his spikes wouldn't turn black, otherwise I'd deal almost no damage to him. Oh, and once all of his spikes are black, he can do his strongest attack, which is this dive bomb. But after some more horn breaks and a tail cut, he started to limp already. I told ya, this greatsword was worth it. If you aren't familiar with Monster Hunter, then you probably don't know that you cannot capture Elder Dragons. So I had to take his life, but in this rather small area, he can be a handful. Still took him down. With him out of the picture, I had 3 more Elder Dragons to hunt till the final boss. I was informed to look for their tracks, but since I already did that before and during the Devil Joe hunts, I already unlocked them. I maxed out the defense on my armor and hunted another pickle and 2 more Nergis to get the required materials to upgrade my weapon. I wasted almost no time and headed out to hunt the first of the 3 remaining elders. I settled for the Emperor of Flames, Teostra. I kinda dreaded Teo because of his long-ranged fire attacks and his field control mini-explosions, as well as the supernova attack, which is easy to dodge. The main thing that I don't like about him is how he spams his element. But you know, some wallbangs will always give me the opening I need, as well as some perfect placed charged greatsword hits. God, I love this weapon! Teo did a major miscalculation and went into this area right here, which allowed me to drop these giant crystals on him for big boy damage and broke his horn. Once asleep, I gave him a lovely wake-up call, which took him down for good.
Wakey, 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 it's time for school!
1 Elder Dragon off the list. And I immediately went to the next one on my list, the Dragon of Steel, Kushala de Aura. When I first started Monster Hunter, I never liked him, to be honest, because of all the wind he makes, which makes it hard to get close to him. But the good thing is, he is weak to poison, and Kiki has a poison weapon, so I guess we had the upper hand. And that we did, cause Kushala did the same mistake to run into this area, plus you can tip him over pretty easily whenever you deal good damage to his head. In the last moments of the hunt, he did summon 1 too many tornadoes for my taste, but amongst the chaos I still managed to take him down with no feints. 2 Elder Dragons dealt with, 1 more to go. I was pretty worried about the last one of the trio here, but I had no choice. So I headed down to the bottom of the vale, and there in a room littered with dead bodies, he arose, the Keeper of Hades, Baal Hazak. Why was I worried about this one? Simple. Fighting monsters in the Vale is already nasty because of the effluvium, which deals small amounts of damage over time. Baal over here controls that stuff, and once it procs on you, your health will be cut in half. Only way to get rid of it is with no berries. During this part of the hunt, I primarily aimed for his tail for some reason, but as soon as he left the area, I went back to camp because I had to restock my items. Drop one of these teeth onto him. It's always lovely to see how this strong dragon elemental greatsword deals with his effluvium armor. I died once, but in return I took his tail. And my main strategy was to bait him to do his beam attack and then unleash my greatsword combo onto him. And in the final moments where the Gyras interrupted my attack, they joined me, paralyzed the corpse dragon, and I could take him down. With that, all 3 Elder Dragons have been dealt with. The Admiral and Handler told me they did some research on the Everstream and that we should go there. Also, the Handler wore her goth mummy outfit for some reason, which made me change my mind on her a little bit. Anyway, before doing anything I would regret, I headed out into the new world and gathered many consumable items I could or would need. And then it was time to finally go out on the last hunt. So I ordered the usual from the canteen and headed out to the Everstream. The commander, Seeker, Kiki and I got into a small boat to get to the destination. Once there, the Seeker was shocked by the huge amount of bioenergy that created this. A giant cocoon, and before we could act, it hatched. The newborn dragon, the monster responsible for the Elder Crossing, the infant Xenojiva. I gave the others some time to escape and engaged combat with this luminous threat. Luckily I had some giant crystals I could drop on him, and all of the glowing body parts take more damage. But after little time has passed, he took to the sky and to the upper levels. I knew I couldn't allow to let him leave, so I did everything in my power to keep him here.
Mi bomba!
When I killed him, his body fell down into the caverns and I fell too. But luckily the Admiral saved me and I woke up in the warm embrace of Goth Mummy Handler and went out celebrating with the others. And with this, I did it. I beat the story of Monster Hunter World without any set or armor skill. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, consider to like, subscribe, it really does help out. Have an amazing day and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.